It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. Debate is not just about winning, but about sharpening perspectives and understanding opposing viewpoints. In the business world, effective communication acts as the cornerstone of success. It fosters collaboration, resolves conflicts, and ensures ideas are expressed clearly, paving the way for informed decision-making.
A very warm good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The day has come to witness the war of words and crown the best debate team in Kerala. The last 3 months witnessed the best of the best debates across Kerala, namely Trivandrum, Kollam, Changanaശ്ശേരി, Kottayam, Idukki, Kochi, Thrissur, Palakkad, Calicut, and Kannur. Today, we welcome each and every one of you to the Kerala State Finals of Maria Philip Future Leaders Debate, the flagship program of XIME, being conducted over the years to encourage debating skills, especially among girl students. As a result, you will notice that at least one member of every team is a girl at today's finale. For the next few hours, we will ponder on the topic. The United Nations is no longer an effective body in addressing global conflicts and political tensions.
Before we begin the competition, we would like to congratulate all the teams who are the winners of the zonal level rounds held from October 2024 through December 2024. 102 teams participated in the zonal competitions held in 9 zones this year. The winners of the state finals will take home the cash prize of Rs 15,000 for the first position and Rs 10,000 for the runner-up position. Just remember the words of Frank Sonnenberg. You don't win a debate by suppressing the discussion. You win it with a compelling rationale. So dear audience and participants, get ready, buckle up, and watch the heated debate.
We have now reached the segment of the day you all have been waiting for. The segment for which you, the winning teams of the zonal rounds, have been preparing vigorously for. Now, I would like to introduce our esteemed panel of judges. It gives me an immense pleasure to introduce a dynamic leader and people-focused professional, Ms. Sangeeta A. Nair. She is currently the Director of People Operations at Redux, where she plays a pivotal role in fostering a positive and inclusive work environment while driving organizational excellence. Ms. Nair brings a wealth of experience from a previous role at HCL Technologies, where she served as Associate Manager for HR Operations, showcasing her expertise in managing diverse teams and streamlining HR functions. She is also a certified POSH trainer, demonstrating her dedication to creating workplaces that are not only productive, but also safe and respectful for everyone. With her vast experience and passion for people-centric leadership, Ms. Nair continues to inspire and lead by example. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Ms. Sangeeta A. Nair.
It is my privilege to introduce an exceptional leader in the field of human resources, Ms. Jismi Jose. She currently serves as the Group Leader of Human Resources at Manikanko Ingredients Private Limited, where she drives impactful initiatives to shape the organization's workforce and culture. With over 14 years of rich HR generalist experience spanning multiple industries, including manufacturing, healthcare, F&B, and IT, Ms. Jose has consistently demonstrated her expertise in managing data-driven corporate programs. Her focus areas include talent management and engagement, strategic workflows, leadership development programs, and competency matrices, making her a true powerhouse of HR innovation. Ms. Jose's commitment to fostering growth and excellence in every organization she has been a part of is truly inspiring. Let's give her a warm round of applause as we welcome Ms. Jismi Jose.
I take immense pleasure in introducing an inspiring professional and a true champion of talent acquisition and engagement, Ms. Nirupa Mary Jacob, who also happens to be an XIME alumna. She currently serves as the lead for campus and university relations at VGuard, where she plays a vital role in connecting academia with industry and nurturing the next generation of talent. Previously, Ms. Jacob made significant contributions at VMware, leading university hiring and early in career hiring programs with a strong focus on engagement and development. Her dedication to building meaningful programs that gap the between education and employment highlights her expertise and passion for empowering young professionals. With her wealth of experience and unwavering commitment to fostering talent, Ms. Jacob leaves a remarkable impact in her field. Let's give her a big round of applause as we welcome Ms. Nirupa Mary Jacob.
It's time to move ahead, dear audience. For the benefit of the judges and to remind the contestants, we will explain the rules and regulations to be followed throughout the event. The rules to be followed by each speaker for the rounds are as follows. The mode of communication for the speakers should be in English. All Chest A members will speak for the motion, while Chest B members will speak against the motion. Since the time allotted is less, speakers are advised not to mention the debate topic. Speakers need to indicate if they are speaking for or against the motion. Speakers must refrain from revealing their personal or college names. One speaker will speak for the motion for 4 minutes, and the other speaker will speak against the motion for 4 minutes. There will be a warning bell after 3.5 minutes. There will be negative marking for exceeding 4 minutes. There will not be any cross-rebuttal rounds.
Without any further ado, let's kickstart the 2024-25 edition of the Kerala Finals of the Maria Philip Future Leaders Debate. We wish all the participants the very best of luck. I request all the contestants, except for the first team, to kindly move from the auditorium to classroom number 4. Our volunteers will escort you to the waiting room.
May we now have Team 1 on the stage. May we have on stage team member 1A speaking for the motion. 1B, kindly be seated. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen and esteemed guests, we live in a world that's been ravaged by war and injustice. But then there seems to be an organization that seems to solve all these problems. Well, that's what the UN was meant to be. However, in this current generation, it's been anything but that. Let's take real-life examples into this case. In the past few years, we can just take 10 years down the line itself. The Syrian civil war, over 500,000 innocent lives have been ravaged just because of political agenda, and the millions have been displaced all over the world. This is just because of the lack of UN intervention, and then the permanent members of the Security Council having their own political agenda, ravaging their own agenda against everything around the world. We can also take the World Health Organization and other personal UN body members into this equation as well. You can see their incompetence, especially during the coronavirus period. In 2020, we saw how incompetent they are, as over 7 million people have died up to 2025. And we saw how incompetent the president of the World Health Organization was during this period. And also the COVAX program was an utter failure. Millions of lives have been lost just because they weren't properly prepared to go across the situation. And also the UN peacekeeping missions. it's a main priority for them to safeguard the interests of the public. But an Al Jazeera report in the year 2023 stated that over 700 cases of sexual exploitation have happened in cases in Central African Republic. These are people who are meant to take care of the needs of people who are so far behind in terms of help, rather than being an evil force that exists within the whole international space. There's also been a call for different countries to enter into the Security Council of the UN, especially emerging countries like Brazil, India, and the Republic of South Africa, to get into the permanent members of the Security Council. But if we realistically think about it, this whole veto system is a pre-World War II tactic, which used to, back in the day, think about the international peace system, but now it seems to be a case for them to only think about their own national interests. That's been going on in the case of, let's say, Russia and Ukraine. The invasion is not being stopped by the UN just because Russia is a permanent member. In Gaza, yes, the ceasefire has happened, but the UN has had no involvement in it. Rather than that, it's just been more and more and more turmoil for the people of Palestine on a daily basis, just because the US is a permanent member in the Security Council. And also, according to the Transparency International report, the UN was rated as one of the worst organizations in terms of financial transparency. This is a call for all of us to really think about it. We've seen an international organization up to the standard fail, which was the League of Nations. Now we need to keep close eye, thinking, is the UN competent enough to carry international peace down the future? Thank you.
Thank you, 1A. You may now be seated on the hot chair. 1B, deliver your points against the motion.
80 years. It's been 80 years since World War III, and another war hasn't happened yet. Have you ever thought how, in a world so divided, where conflict rages, nuclear weapons exist, and rivalry persists, that we managed to avoid a third world war for 80 years? It isn't just mere coincidence or a stroke of luck. It's the active works, the relentless efforts of an organization, the United Nations. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The idea that United Nations is ineffective is not just a misunderstanding, but an erasure of history. Let me explain why United Nations is effective and how we cannot survive without it. First, the United Nations stop conflict before they spiral into a global catastrophe. Let's take the Soviet Union crisis, the case where Soviet Union and United Nations were on the brink of nuclear war. And we managed to avoid that with back-channeled diplomacy of United Nations. This is a testament to United Nations' commitment towards avoiding wars. The second point, United Nations ensure that the war doesn't happen. It prevents war before it happens. The United Nations peacekeeping organization is a testament to this commitment. Let me talk about the United Nations peacekeepers. Right now, over 100,000 peacekeepers from about 125 countries works in so many areas which are volatile to violence, areas that are so prone to violence. And according to statistics, from 1988 to 2023, UN peacekeepers have been sent to about 70 peacekeeping missions, reducing the possibility of conflicts reigniting by 70%. The UN doesn't just address conflicts or stop wars, they address the root causes of these conflicts. The UN initiatives like UNICEF, UNDP, and World Food Programs that feed about 140 million people annually aims to create stability from ground up. Between 1998 and 2023, the UN has fed and has made sure that 1 billion people are out of poverty. And programs like UNDP's World Food Organization's programs ensure that people are not hungry. They don't stay hungry in areas that are prone to violence, in areas they are already suffering. Fourth point is that United Nations ensure that criticism against United Nations do exist, that they are not effective, that they doesn't make sure the peacekeeping doesn't happen. But we fail to forget the nature of the world. We often forget that the world is so imperfect. The United Nations is not perfect, but that is a reflection of the complexities of the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, the criticisms about United Nations do exist. But ask yourself this question. If it wasn't for UN, would we even be sitting here to talk about the effectiveness of United Nations? Thank you.
Thank you, Team 1. You may now be seated among the audience.
May we have team number 2 on the stage? We have on the stage team 2A speaking for the motion. 2B, you may take the seat.
Good morning to one and all. The United Nations, once hailed as a beacon of global cooperation, is now facing a profound legitimacy crisis. As the former US President John F. Kennedy once declared, the United Nations was designed to make peace indispensable. However, the organization's recent track record shows a failure to live up to this lofty ideal. The United Nations' inadequacy in addressing the climate change crisis is exemplified by its recent response to the severe wildfires in Los Angeles, which devastated thousands of acres and homes. Such tragedies could have been mitigated had the Security Council not rejected a pivotal draft solution which aimed to integrate climate change crisis into preventing methods. The draft, supported by 12 members, was opposed by Russia and India, so to position climate change crisis as critical in preventing conflicts exacerbated by climate change. The permanent 5 members of the Security Council, China, Russia, France, United Kingdom, and United States, have historically exercised their veto power to block resolutions that conflict with their national interest. In a council of 193 countries, only the 5 holding the topmost power itself is inappropriate. These power-hungry countries are denouncing and renouncing the very motto of the UN. The recent Israel-Palestine conflict is itself an apt example for the inefficiency of the UN. Even though there has been a recent ceasefire,
Thank you, 2A. Now, can we have 2B to deliver your points against the motion?
We are a suicidal civilization, destroying our only home for the sake of materialistic greed. Good morning, everyone. Let me take this opportunity to remind you all what the actual purposes of a body like the UN are. A is to make sure that it maintains international peace and security. B is to maintain international relations. C is to ensure that it provides human rights and fundamental freedom for all. And D is to make sure it acts as a center for harmonizing the actions of other nations. Now, has the UN been successful in maintaining international peace and security? Let me answer this question with another one. Has there been any other nuclear bomb dropped since 1945? Has there been any other war broken out on a scale as large as the World War I and World War II? No. So I would say the UN has been fairly successful in that regard. Then what about the international relations? I would argue yes, because the diplomatic relations of countries are far better than they used to be back in 1945. You see, my opponent recently mentioned that, UN's inadequacy can be seen in the recent Southern California wildfires. I, for one, would like to vehemently disagree with that statement because, if anything, it shows a lack of understanding in how a body like the UN actually works. You see, she seems to have forgotten to mention that UN is not a standalone organization. It has several countries and members and funds and policies that requires all of them working together. The General Assembly, or the GA, follows a strict cycle. It involves A, debate, B, negotiation, C, decision-making, fourth, implementation, and finally, reporting. For an issue as stark and serious as that of climate change, it's not a valve you can turn on and off with just a flick of a finger. It requires years of planning and commitment, and that does not provide instant gratification. It is imperative and honestly counterintuitive to blame UN for this issue because if you think about it, nature programs to protect the oceans at risk, post-coal alliances, worldwide call for climate action, these are all policies initiated by the UN, clearly mentioned in their website, along with adequate proof on how they help better the current climate condition. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to remind you all that UN does what it is intended to do. It is not a legislative body, nor is it a military organization. It does a very few things, and it does them very well. It is a forum where every single nation, regardless of their size, economic problems, ongoing conflicts, population, they have a voice. Where sovereign nations can come together, discuss, reach out, all their consensus issues. It provides a platform where international humanitarian organizations can come together, giving them not only recognition but support. Leading the list is obviously organizations such as the World Health Organization, which was a beacon of hope during the COVID times. Then we have UNICEF working with refugees every single step of their way. You have FAO managing the food reserves. UN is a bureaucracy there to request, gather, collate, disseminate accurate global data when it comes to statistics such as population, world economy, health. It plays a surprisingly huge role in managing and maintaining the world economy via the World Bank. Clearly, UN has grown into its purpose. People constantly wonder why the UN doesn't do more, and that to me is success, because UN is doing exactly what it should be, giving people voice, giving people a stance. UN is successful and a necessity as long as you do not think of it as a magic wand capable of solving all world's problems. Long may it continue. Thank you.
Thank you to Team 2.
May we have Team 3 on stage? We now have on stage Team 3A speaking for the motion. 3B, please be seated.
Former US President Harry S. Truman once said, "The United Nations has proven itself incapable of addressing addressing conflicts and securing peace. The principles on which it was created are noble, but the execution falls far short. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, respected judges, and my fellow participants. We stand at a crucial juncture in world history marked by events such as the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Hence, it's imperative to address a stark reality. The United Nations, once a harbinger of global peace and cooperation, is no longer an effective body in addressing conflicts and political tension. That's the topic for today's debate, and I'd like to take an affirmative stance on this issue. Established in the wake of World War II, the UN was envisioned as a platform for diplomacy and peacekeeping. However, today, it finds itself ensnared in bureaucratic red tape. Let's begin my first argument that's about the organizational weakness of UNO. For instance, the Security Council, the heart of UN's decision-making process. Veto power held by its 5 permanent members, China, France, Russia, the United States, and the United Kingdom, has turned the Council into a battleground for national interests. Take the Syrian conflict, for example, where Russia's use of 17 vetoes prevented meaningful action, leaving millions to suffer under the Assad regime. These stalemates prevent the UN from taking decisive action, leaving many conflicts unresolved. Secondly, I'd like to shift my focus onto the economic bottlenecks of UNO. Financial instability tied to voluntary contribution makes the organization susceptible to manipulation by major donors. Instead of remaining as a neutral entity, the UN often becomes a puppet of those who control its purse strings. The United States is the largest contributor to UN budget, providing approximately 22% of its regular budget and 25% of its peacekeeping budget. In 2011, the US cut funding to UNESCO after it accepted Palestine as a full member. This move slowed down UNESCO's operations, and this highlighted how financial dependency on major donors can undermine the organization's independence. Next, the glaring issue of inefficient and excessive bureaucracy within the UN's decision-making process. The 1994 Rwandan genocide serves as a tragic example. Despite having peacekeepers on ground, the slow-moving bureaucracy and delayed response resulted in nearly 800,000 deaths. And this raises doubts about the UN's ability to respond to crisis in a timely manner. Furthermore, the UN's selective focus on conflicts weakens its credibility. Geopolitical interests often dictate where the attention and resources are allocated. Take the ongoing war in Yemen. Despite its devastating consequences, the UN's response has been stymied by logistical challenges and political interference. Meanwhile, the conflict in Ukraine has gained significant international attention, and this shows a clear imbalance in how UN responds to global crisis. Fifth and finally, the UN fails to adapt to modern challenges. Its outdated structure shows how UN cannot respond to crises like cyber warfare, climate change, or the global refugee crisis. UN's response to global refugee crisis has been inconsistent due to funding shortfalls and political interests. The Rohingya refugees in Myanmar and the Uyghur Muslims in China, for example, has seen very limited international intervention, and this shows how the organization cannot adapt to challenges in the face of new global challenges. In conclusion, former UN General Secretary Dag Hammarskjöld once said, "The United Nations was not created to take mankind to heaven, but to save humanity from hell." Thank you.
Thank you, 3A. You may be seated on the hot chair. Now we have 3B to deliver your points against the motion.
In the midst of relentless political turmoil, be it the conflict between Israel and Palestine or the war in Ukraine, one undeniable thing stands out. Our generation has been spared the horrors of World War III. Can we not then view the United Nations as a success in its mission to prevent catastrophic global conflicts? Respected judges and my dear friends, today's debate centers on a significant motion, and I stand here strongly against the motion, and I'm here to present my arguments to prove my stance, and thereafter to counter and refute a few arguments that were raised by my esteemed opponent. My very first argument centers on peacekeeping, the very cornerstone of United Nations mission. Since its inception, United Nations has had a very huge effect on peacekeeping. It has even earned the Nobel Peace Prize for its efforts. We can quite clearly see that it has played a pivotal role in resolving conflicts and also negotiating and reconciling between states such as Namibia, Mozambique, and Cambodia. And during the missile crisis of Cuba in 1962, it was UN Secretary General U Thant who acted as an intermediary between US and Soviet Union, and he was the one who solved the issue. So clearly we can see that UN is a powerful body. And coming to my second argument, it is in preventing the arms race. We can see it was through the landmark treaties of Chemical Weapons Convention along with the Non-Proliferation Treaty and the Arms Trade Treaties that the UN has accomplished this. We can quite clearly see that. Moreover than all of this, the International Atomic Energy Agency has been tirelessly serving under the UN guidelines to ensure that the nuclear powers are solely being used and utilized for peaceful purposes alone. Is it not due to this that our generation has been spared under the Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Coming to my third and most powerful argument, it has been playing a pivotal role against genocide. UN was the very first body to produce the first ever treaty against genocide, the 1948 Genocide Convention, which was ratified by over 146 states. And we can quite clearly see that the tribunals it was raised for Yugoslavia and Rwanda, along with the UN-supported courts in the state of Cambodia, has helped to de-escalate and send the strong message against ethnic cleansing. I strongly say that if there was a UN in 1948, if there was one during Second World War, we might not have witnessed the vanishment of 6 million Jews. Coming to the fourth and final argument, UN has always addressed the root causes of global conflicts, including terrorism, by adapting education along with healthcare, environmental protection, and economic development. And these are through initiatives such as the Sustainable Development Goals, the Paris Treaty, and the UNFCCC. Now, I'd like to counter a few arguments that were raised by my worthy opponent. She mentioned about the veto powers of the Security Council. The UN General Assembly Resolution 377V, which was adopted in 1950, is known as the Uniting for Peace Resolution, which clearly states that any permanent member who fails to maintain their primary duty of maintaining international peace and security, then in that case the assembly shall seize itself of the matter. It was actually adopted by America to prevent any kind of veto powers from the Soviet Union during the course of Korean War. Now, I'd like to conclude my statement by saying that it is undeniable that the United Nations has played a pivotal role in ensuring disarmament, sustainable development, and peacekeeping all around the world. It's high time we consider and we acclaim the very importance this organization has all over the world. Thank you and have a thoughtful day.
Thank you, Team 3. You may now join the audience. Judges, please note the time taken by 3A is 4 minutes and 12 seconds. Time taken by 3B is 3 minutes and 59 seconds. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have Team 5. We now have on stage Team Member 5A speaking for the motion. 5B, please be seated.
Check.
Yes. Photos on. Yeah, stop.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Respected panel, dear audience. I'll be speaking in support of the motion that the United Nations is no longer an effective body in addressing global issues and political tensions around the world. Now, the prime objective of an organization like the United Nations is clearly visible in its charter. Broadly speaking, it aims to
5A, you may be seated on the hot chair. Now we have 5B to deliver your points against the motion.
Hello.
Yes. You may start.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Honored by this great privilege of standing on this dais, I'd like to explain why I think the United Nations is still the most irreplaceable organization in addressing global tensions and conflicts in this limited time given to me. Well, I'd like to start speaking that my opponent here failed to indisputably prove that the United Nations is of no use in the contemporary world. It's my ardent belief that the United Nations is still the most relevant organization in addressing global tensions and conflicts and bringing in a peaceful world together. Now, under the founding charter of the United Nations, one of the major reasons for it to exist is the peace building and addressing global tensions and conflicts. But under the same charter, Article 54 mandates the maintenance of relationship with regional arrangements, which is why the role of United Nations is that of facilitating peace rather than imposing peace. Now, allow me to validate my points with some of the most important examples of interventions of the United Nations. My first example will be the intervention done by General Secretary U Thant in mediating between John F. Kennedy and Nikita Khrushchev that successfully avoided a potential nuclear war during the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. Another example is the intervention done by the United Nations Assistance Mission to East Timor during the independence movement of Timor-Leste that led to its independence in 1999. Yet another example is the Sierra Leone Civil War, when the United Nations mediations led to the signing of this Leone Peace Accord. Moreover, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to put forward or remind us all that in places and at times, when maintaining peace is a grueling process, this is taken up by no other institution but the United Nations. This is exemplified in the continuing political crisis in Abyei in Sudan, where under the United Nations Interim Security Force for Abyei, more than 3,000 members are still deployed to maintain peace and protect life. Now, let me also bring to your attention the humanitarian aid being provided by the United Nations in the refugee crisis. The United Nations High Commission for Refugees actively works in over 130 countries for providing a secure future around 117 million refugees, especially in countries like Afghanistan. Now, another endeavor of United Nations is providing electoral support in over 60 countries under the Department of Political and Peacebuilding Affairs and also the UNDP. In countries like Afghanistan, Libya, Iraq, Sudan, Congo, etc., they provide technological assistance, logistic assistance, and dispute resolution, etc. Now, another point I'd like to put forward is that the major misconception is that the United Nations is not retrospecting. But allow me to inform you all that the United Nations is actively doing timely retrospection of its activities. Now, this can be seen in the accepting of or Resolution 2719 in December 2023 that highlighted the importance of maintaining a relationship between the African Union and the United Nations and decentralize the funding and mediation activities. Similar efforts can also be seen in the Brahimi report that is put forward by the Algerian diplomat Lakhdar Brahimi that assessed the peacekeeping missions of UN and put forward certain changes. Another example is the No Exit Without strategy of 2000 and 2001, and also the 1992 report put forward by the General Secretary Boutros Ghali that assessed the peacekeeping missions as well. Well, there are innumerable examples as to why the United Nations is still most relevant in the world. Well, I hope my points have gathered why it is still relevant. Wishing you all a great day ahead. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you, Team 5. You may now join the audience. Judges, please note, 5A has taken 36 seconds, 5B, 3 minutes and 53 seconds.
May we have Team 6 on the stage? We now have on the stage Team 6A speaking for the motion and 6B. Please take the chair.
Good morning, esteemed judges and audience. George Kennan, an American diplomat, has once said, "The United Nations was designed for a different world order. But in today's world, in multipolar system, it finds relevance. It struggles to find its relevance." With this perspective, I will state how UN has become a failure to our world. John Nishima is a leading scholar in the field of international relations, particularly known for his realist theory. In his theory, he emphasized that the states are primarily driven by the nation's interest, which is centered around the pursuit of power and security in an anarchic international system. In his perspective, the primary goal of a state is survival, which often leads to the competition for power and more conflicts likely, which leads to the failure of our world. The global peace is going away. And according to Immanuel Wallerstein's world system theory, the global politics and economics are structured around the core of powerful and industrialized nation and a periphery of less developed and dependent nation. From this framework, the UN can be seen as a tool used by these core nations to maintain their dominance in the international system. The inability of the UN to effectively interfere might be the result of this influence that this core nation, the P5 nation, exert upon its decision-making process, particularly the Security Council. The Syrian civil war has been one of the most significant modern examples showcasing the UN's inability to effectively interfere due to the presence of veto power in the Security Council. In 2014, Russia annexed Crimea from Ukraine, violating Ukraine's sovereignty and international law. The UN General Assembly condemned the annexation, but the Security Council, where Russia holds the veto power, was unable to take a meaningful action. The South China Sea conflict, the Somalian War, the Iraq War 2004, Rwandan genocide 1994, the current Israel-Palestine conflict underscores the limitation of the United Nations, especially in dealing with the disputes involving the major global powers like Russia, China, USA, whose main motive is the nation's interest. Lack of representation of the emerging global powers. It's been 7 decades after the Second World War, and only the so-called victors possess a right to veto. And how is this fair? Why can't emerging powers like India, South Africa, Japan be given the right to veto? More than 2 lakh Indians have served under 49 out of 71 UN peacekeeping missions since 1948, and about 169 Indians have lost their lives serving under the UN flag, and India is the 4th highest troop contributing country. And how long India and the rest of the UN members be asked to follow the decision dictated by this P5 nation? People need to realize that UN has failed the world in global scheme of things. Look around you. There is poverty. There is pandemic. There is recession, incursion, unrest, civil war, genocide, expansionism, terrorism. The UN has failed the world in every possible way. It is a bureaucratic behemoth that bends to the world's biggest sponsors. UN is a scarecrow. The UN's failure to effectively make decisive action, especially in the face of China's defiance and strategic interests of the UN, of the major global powers, has only exemplified the new difficulties the UN faces in addressing the international conflict. Thank you.
Thank you, 6A. You may be seated on the hot chair. Now, can we have 6B to deliver your points against the motion?
To the great and intelligent minds gathered here, and to those who believe that anything and everything can be achieved through their capabilities, I extend a warm good morning to all. In 2019, the Walt Disney Pictures released a musical drama film named The Lion King. A particular phrase from the film became very famous, Hakuna Matata. The phrase Hakuna Matata has a wide variety of meanings, which include no worries, no importance at all, and etc. And my friend here says that the UN is in its Hakuna Matata's era. No, it is no. And I would like to prove it through some examples. First of all, I would like to share with you the perspective of a liberal theorist, Robert Keohane, on international institutions. He, on his famous work on neoliberal humanism, states that international institutions helps in mitigating the anarchy by promoting cooperation, by reducing transaction codes, and also by forging the trust among the states. The UN, despite its limitations, serves as a critical platform for dialogue, diplomacy, and conflict resolutions. Its peacekeeping mechanisms, its sanctions mechanisms, and humanitarian aids have often prevented conflicts from escalating into a full-fledged wars. Following the independence of the Democratic Republic of Congo, the United Nations launched United Nations operations in Congo that helped stabilize the country, which was facing an internal strife and an external interventions. As a responding to the Kosovo War, the UN administrated Kosovo through the United Nations Interim Administration Program. These are examples for the fact that the UN considers the developing and the underdeveloped governments equally. The United Nations Framework Convention on Climatic Changes provides a platform for United Nations and the countries to come forward and to deal with the matters of climatic changes and also to reduce a possible conflict. The UN's support with Libya started in 2012, which also promoted and helped Libya to have a political dialogue in the world. The UN's Security Council can impose sanctions upon governments or countries that violate international laws or those threaten international security and peace. Such a sanction was imposed on Iran because of its nuclear project, and also it imposed a great difficulty in its economy. Thus, the UN played a great role in brokering the nuclear deal with Iran and the rest of the world in 2015. The United Nations Human Rights Council has been extensively documented the human rights abuses that was conducted by the Myanmar military on the people and also the persecution of the Rohingya minority, which was deemed by the UN as the most beautiful example or the most monstrous example of the problems that are created by the minority community, are created towards the minority community. So my dear friends, the UN is not in its Hakuna Matata's era. Rather, the UN is in its Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam era, where it considers everyone as equal, where it raises the problems of everyone and also treats everyone as a member of a single family. So, for world peace and security, UN is important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Team 6. Now you may join the audience. Judges, please note the time taken by 6A is 3 minutes and 58 seconds and 6B is 3 minutes and 20 seconds.
May we now have Team 7. We now have on stage team member 7A speaking for the motion. 7B, please take a seat on the hot chair.
Hello. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, respected judges, and honorable opponents. Today, I stand before you to speak in favor of the motion. Let me begin with a fact. The UN was formulated with the noble intention of maintaining peace, to promote human rights, and to protect the vulnerable. However, now it is just a shadow of its promises, failing humanity at its most critical junctures. Let us consider Syria, where it has failed to resolve and prevent conflicts. Syria is a humanitarian disaster where it has been claiming over 500,000 lives since 2011. While the people in Syria beg for peace, bombs fall onto their homes, their schools, their hospitals. And what does the UN do? It issues statements, it publishes resolutions, and these resolutions are vetoed 16 times by the Security Council. What should the people in Syria be doing for this? The vetoes, the very body that was supposed to be protecting them, has become a stage for political rivalries between the powerful. Now let us analyze the numbers. As of 2023, according to the UNHRC, over 100 million people have been displaced due to political rivalries, due to persecutions and conflicts. This is over the entire population of countries like Germany. And what are these people expected to do? Why does not UN be able to broker peace or ensure them aid? Next, let's go forward and look at Yemen, a humanitarian crisis that is at catastrophe. What do we do here? What does UN do here? Why do we step forward and look at there and do nothing? Over 21 million people, that's over 2/3 of the population of the world, require humanitarian assistance. 2.2 million children are acutely malnourished. Yet again, the UN is not able to provide them enough secure aid or even broker a lasting peace. These UN failures are not just in numbers, but it is the lives of those who suffer. Imagine a father in South Sudan watching helplessly his child succumb to hunger, not being able to do anything just because aid convoys would never arrive. Imagine a mother in Syria cradling her dying child amongst the ruins, whispering a prayer to a world that refuses to listen. These are not just numbers. These are lives. Each one irreplaceable. Each one a victim of a system that was supposed to be protecting them and not sacrificing them. Now let us go forward and look at climate crisis. The UN's Paris Agreement was said to be a landmark achievement, whereas the harsh reality is that it lacks enforcement. The global temperature is set to rise by 2.7 degrees Celsius by this century. The wealthy nations who are majorly responsible for these emissions make pledges during the COP meetings only to ignore them when convenient. Small island nations like Maldives are sinking under the rising seas, and their cries are being sunk under the bureaucratic delays. I would like to say the root lies in the outdated system of the Security Council, with 5 nations with their veto powers according to their interests. And I would like to say it is time that we demand better for ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, 7A. You may be seated on the hot chair. Now, can we have 7B to deliver your points against the motion?
Respected peers, I look upon you today with these esteemed judges and my respected opponents. I'll be speaking against the motion. To stand here and claim that the United Nations is in any way an ineffective organization is to adopt a certain sense of obliviousness. It is to ignore the profound impact that the United Nations has had in the past 80 years since its inception in 1948. A simple glance at the statistics would tell you the opposite of what my opponent has said. For example, since 1948, the United Nations has brokered 178 peace agreements, 175 of which still stand to this day. Further, the United Nations has 12 UN peacekeeping forces stationed all around the world, protecting an estimated 200 million individuals on a daily basis from violent threats. These do not seem like the hallmarks of an institution that is particularly ineffective. Further, the United Nations is the purveyor of our chosen form of government, democracy. The United Nations has created 50 first elections in nation states all over the world. This shows that the United Nations gives rights, as seen by the UNHRC. But to look at these statistics is to ignore the true spirit of the United Nations. Just a glance at its history would tell you enough evidence and show you what the UN is meant to be. The UN rose from the ashes of the League of Nations, a failed institution, as my opponent has said. However, once the world looked at the atrocities committed during World War II, the violent swath across Europe and Asia, and the Holocaust and other atrocities committed, for example, the rape of Nanking by the Japanese Empire, the world realized that we needed an institution, a stronghold of democracy, where we can approach better humanity. The UN became that institution, a fundamental force in the world. And absolutely, it is true that the UN has its pitfalls. For example, the Paris Agreement is absolutely seen as somewhat of a failure. However, it takes steps that no single nation alone can take. For example, the United Nations brought together 200 different entities around the world which contribute in some way or the other and made them sign a contract, a feat that is and cannot be replicated in the near future. And my opponent made a gesture about Yemen and Syria. And while it is absolutely true that there are devastating effects to this day in Yemen and Syria, a Gallup poll conducted in 2022 says that there will be 2.8 million more casualties had the UN not mediated at all. The UN specialized agencies also provide an incredible amount of support to the world. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, COVAX, UN task force, provided 140 million people with vaccines. That's over 2 billion doses all over the world to 140 different countries. No other institution has come close. Another important example is the World Food Program, which provided 158 million meals to dying, sick, and injured children all over the world. That's 758 million meals in the year 2022 alone. This is an astounding achievement and one of Herculean proportions that we will not be able to replicate in the near future. I wanted to, obviously statistics is very important in a debate. However, there is one anecdote that I wanted to share. In the country of South Sudan, a country ravaged by civil war, there is a vernacular that is adopted by the 2.8 million children living there. They call the drinking water pipes that they get their daily water from UNICEFs. Not because this is the United Nations Child Emergency Fund is somewhat there, it's just the words that are painted on the side. I want to conclude with a quote from former UN Secretary General Dag Hammarskjöld. The United Nations is not equipped to pull humanity or mankind to heaven, but rather it is meant to pull it from the depths and abyss that is a certain hell. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Team 7. You may now join the audience. Judges, please note, 7A has taken 3 minutes and 58 seconds. 7B has taken 3 minutes and 59 seconds.
May we have Team 8 on the stage? We now have on the stage team member 8A speaking for the motion. 8B, you may be seated on the hot chair.
Can I start? In 1998, when US bombs loomed over Baghdad, Kofi Annan stormed into Iraq, defying one of the UNSC permanent member to urge Saddam Hussein to cooperate with the UN inspectors to avert catastrophe. Yet in 2022, when Britain and American intelligence warned of a Russian invasion over Ukraine, Antonio Guterres stood still. If Annan could dare challenge back then for humanity's sakes, why couldn't Antonio Guterres fly to Moscow, confront Russia, and prevent a devastating war that claimed thousands of lives? Warm greetings, one and all. I'm here to lay the proposition for the motion. Conflicts escalated in 2023 to 24 with 59 nations included, up from 56 in 2020. The Armed Conflicts Location and Event Data Statistics and Peace Research Institute of Oslo shows us more shocking data. Nearly 2 lakh armed conflicts in 2024 around the world and 2,33,000 fatalities. Africa alone recorded 3,30,000, ladies and gentlemen, 3,30,000 battle deaths and 35 ongoing armed conflicts. The Israel-Palestine war killed more than 45,000 Palestinians and devastated Gaza's infrastructure. The Ukraine-Russia war saw 71,000 battle deaths and killed more than in 2023 alone. While Sudan's civil war displaced 12 million and caused famine. Amid global chaos, the United Nations stands silent, ineffective, and confused. It enables criminals to dominate while risking a nuclear war that could annihilate all life on Earth. And there are 5 major reasons for that. The Security Council's veto power is a glaring symbol of dictatorship, corruption, and undemocratic politics, allowing a single nation to derail global action and paralyze responses to crisis. Peacekeeping missions are feeble, incapable of confronting national armies. Louis Charbonneau of Human Rights Watch condemned the UNSC as dysfunctional and crippled by ideological divides. The UN's failure to establish a military force under Article 43 to 47 of its charter highlights its incapability and incompetence. The Military Staff Committee, on the other hand, is reliant on the P5 cooperation, stands inactive because these powers refuse to support a force that could rival their own military. And this negligence had caused catastrophic failures in Somalia 1992, Rwanda 1994, and Bosnia 1995. The UN still clings on to outdated post-World War II charters, which ignores a world transformed with new powers like India, Japan, and Germany demanding greater roles. Its obsolete principles of state sovereignty shields nations from committing crimes and makes the UN powerless against genocides and committing crimes against its own citizens. The bloated bureaucracy and sluggish handling of development issues a persistent criticism. With 1,200 country offices worldwide and each nation handling 10 each, half the budget is wasted over operational costs, making minimal funds for implementing impactful programs. And in today's context, a few million achieves nothing meaningful. As tensions rise, the United Nations still stands ineffective and silent. Born of hope, yet crippled by compromise. The United Nations stands as a gilded tower of words, emptied echoes, where justice is bartered and power whispers its cold deceit. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, 8A. You may be seated on the hot chair. Now, can we have 8B to deliver your points against the motion?
Hello. A former US ambassador to the UN once expressed famously, blaming the UN for a crisis is like blaming Madison Square Gardens when the New York Knicks play badly. You are blaming a building. To all those who take great pleasure in throwing under the bus the beacon of hope, greetings. Let me just unpack this proposition against which I'm arguing. Now, my opponent here is quick to throw hands on all of the crises that the UN has not done, as he mentioned. But, as Dr. Shashi Tharoor says, the United Nations is actually a stage, and the Secretary General is its actor. It's a sort of diplomatic club where member states come together, address pressing issues, make recommendations, pass resolutions mainly to avert war. And this actor can only perform as well as the stage allows him to. So, has the UN been effective in addressing these conflicts and resolutions? It most certainly has, and I bring proof. While my opponent may denigrate the UN's peacekeeping operations for failing, it is the main means for the UN to avert crises. There are currently 11 peacekeeping operations, effective peacekeeping operations around the world, and 22 special political missions. In 2023 alone, the UN deployed 245 million of people's life-saving assistance. They even deployed more than 130 development and peace advisors to assist national stakeholders to develop their own capacities to sustain peace and prevent conflicts. In 2024, the Pact for the Future by the UN set up plans to improve the efficiency and the representation of the UN Security Council, taking Africa as a priority. Also, the pact had the first multilateral recommitment to nuclear disarmament, the first in almost a decade. Let me point out certain successes of the UN in the last few years. In war-torn Yemen, a UN-brokered ceasefire was established in 2022 and was renewed in 2023. In Haiti, a UN Security Council resolution put into place a multinational security support mission, an MSS mission, to restore peace and enable free and fair elections. Chile, Somalia, Colombia, and many more are such examples in this regard. In March 2022, the UN Security Council and the UN Human Rights Council put into place a council of inquiry to address the conflicts and the legal and alleged violations against human laws in Ukraine when Russia started their aggression. Moreover, the UN has also deployed people for taking evidence for the cases related to sexual violence in conflicts. And in Ukraine, they deployed people to actually go on and report those crimes to the government. In Gaza, the United Nations Truce Supervision Operations, or the UNTSO, is an indispensable part of the UN in addressing the Israel-Arab conflict. Moreover, the United Nations Refugee Advisory Council is also working for the same. We must remember that the UN is playing a highly stabilizing role for the peaceful conduct of international relations, and blaming it and judging it as not effective is actually a betrayal on our part for the hope of humanity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Team 8. You may join the audience. Judges, please note the time taken by 8A is 3 minutes and 45 seconds, and for 8B is 3 minutes and 54 seconds.
May we now have Team 9 on the stage. We now have on stage Team Member 9A speaking for the motion. 9B, take the seat on the hot chair.
Testing. Good morning. United Nations is at the crossroad and writing on the wall, which means the situation is clear, obvious, and the outcome is inevitable. Yes, as like venerable statesman Henry Kissinger once skipped, United Nations it's not like a therapeutical institution, it's a political one. Yes, today I am favoring the notion. As we all know that United Nations is ineffective in addressing the global conflicts and political issues. It is like, it's like a threat in this scenario. It is like doing certain things which is not like effective at all. And I'm just going to my first motion. Before that, I just want to say that United Nations ineffectiveness, and first thing is that it's inefficiency and veto power. You know, the United Nations is something which is maintaining peace and security for everything. But its veto power, the 5 major powers like Russia, United Kingdom, France, and England, it has its own influence on certain resolutions or decisions of the United Nations. It's an important thing. We have exciting example. On February 2022, the Ukraine war is an exciting example. According to UNHCR report, 7 lakh people became like refugees and 2 lakh casualties. And according to Stockholm Agreement report, United Nations cannot resolve 70% of the global conflicts. Coming to my second point, its failure in peacekeeping mission. That means we have mainly 3 examples. The Rwandan crisis of 1994, and the second most important thing is that the Tigray war of Ethiopia in 2020, and the third most important thing is that Israel-Palestine war. You know, in a Rwandan war, we lost about 8 lakh people within 100 days. And going to the Goldstone report of 2009, the ongoing 70 years of ongoing Israel-Palestine war, what the United Nations has did. That is an important, most relevant question. And coming to my third point, United Nations is beyond its control over the global challenges like climate changes. The Paris Peace Conference or Peace Agreement, which has happened in 2015, was a diplomatic one. But under the presidency of Donald Trump, in 2017, the United States resolved from this agreement, and what happened to United Nations enforcement. So it's a kind of influence about the veto powers, and despite the COP conference, the omission is increasing. And going to my fourth important point, its inefficiency in preventing humanitarian crisis. It's an important thing. According to 2004 Yemen civil war, it is like 24 million needed the humanitarian aid, but the United Nations lacked it. You know, going to my fifth most important point, while comparing to the India, what United Nations has did to India. We lost 40,000 people in Kashmir war. The United Nations kept silent. And as the India is a growing economy, 5th largest economy, and continuously asking for the UNC reforms, why the United Nations has no voice or no response to that? It's an important question. It may be like an inner motive of the 5 veto wonderful powers like Russia, France, United States, United Kingdom, etc. And in conclusion, I just want to say, like Albert Einstein once said, the definitions of infancy is like doing the things over and over again without expecting the results. It is like a bullshit kind of thing. You know, the United Nations is outstructured, outdated thing. And to be like very honest, the United Nations is like akin to pointless, broken pencil. We need a more inclusive, more adaptive, and most powerful organization. Thank you.
Thank you, 9A. You may be seated on the hot chair. Now we have 9B to deliver your points against the motion.
Testing. Good morning. The former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon once said that United Nations is our best hope for the safest, more peaceful and prosperous world for all. According to the UNHCR report, United Nations reduced number of deaths in conflict by 75% and assisted across 50 million refugees worldwide. Today, I'm against the notion. Yes, United Nations serves as a thread that weaves the nation together and fostering cooperation between the nation. If there is no UN in the world, then the world would be a patchwork quilt. Initially, I want to highlight the point that the humanitarian aid and crisis management, despite its challenges, UN has provided humanitarian assistance in global crisis. In 2020, UN and its agency provided 10 billion in humanitarian aid, reaching over 100 million across 80 countries. Also, according to the UNHCR Global Trend Report 2020, UN's refugee agency provided life-saving support for 20 million refugees across the world. Also, UN's World Food Program reached 150 million people with the food assurance. The second major point that I want to highlight that the vital role in the peacekeeping mission. As we all know that United Nations remains as a key player in the global peacekeeping mission. As of 2021, UN had a 12 active peacekeeping mission across 90,000 personnel deployed worldwide. Also, United Nations maintained stability in the conflict zones like South Sudan, Mali, and Democratic Republic of Congo. Yes, according to the UN's Peacekeeping Fact Sheet 2021 report, the 60% of the country under UN intervention had experienced reduced conflicts. Also, UN's mission in the South Sudan provided protection to 1.6 million displaced people. Yes. Thirdly, I want to highlight the point that the ongoing diplomacy in the global conflict. Yes. As mentioned in the UN Security Council Resolution 2015 report, UN had a facilitated Iran nuclear deal. Yes, which made negotiation between Iran and other world powers to revive a joint comprehensive plan of action, JCPOA, which is also known as Iran nuclear deal, which is the bestest example. I also have another example, the Stockholm Agreement of Yemen in 2018, which bring peace in Yemen. Yes, according to the UNICEF report, the another diplomatic movement of UN is in Syria. Yes, UN appointed Greg Pedersen, who has been working since 2018. And UN created a committee to bring a new constitution in Syria. Fourthly, let's talk about the positive impact. We all know that the COVID-19 pandemic. Yes, WHO, which acts as a forefront, which is a UN agency. By 2022, UN had delivered 30 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine across the world. Also, according to the Sustainable Development Report of 2024, UN had played an initiative role in the Sustainable Development also. The best example is the 50 into 2030 initiative. Yes. Also, UN made a initiative progress in the India also. The eradication of polio in 2014 also reduced child marriage and promoted girls' education, which made a positive impact in the India also. Yes. Likewise, the 7th UN Secretary General, the Kofi Annan once said that we may have different religion, we may have different languages, we may have different colored skin, but we all belong the one race. The race is called the human race. Yes. The United Nations plays as it's a platform for every world to belong together, to work together. Yes, we all are one and one is all. Yes, finally, I'm stopping my words that United Nations is effective in addressing global conflicts and political tensions. Thank you.
Thank you, Team 9. You may take your seat among the audience. Judges, please note that 9A has taken 4 minutes and 1 second. 9B has taken 4 minutes and 8 seconds. May we now have Team 10 on the stage. We now have on stage Team Member 10A speaking for the motion. 10B, take a seat on the hot chair.
Sir Winston Churchill has rightly said that the United Nations have become a place where nations talk but do not act. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'm here to support the notion. Founded in 1945, following the devastation of the World War II, with the purpose of maintaining international peace and security, the UN has grown to 193 member states, making it the most significant organization for diplomacy and cooperation. Its key organ, the UN Security Council, has been vested with the primary responsibility for maintaining peace. However, the use of the veto power held by the 5 permanent states, that is, the United States, Russia, China, France, and the United Kingdom, has often led to the paralysis in decision-making, allowing geopolitical interests to override global welfare. So today, I'm here to analyze some of the major critical shortcomings of the UN. First is the misuse of its veto powers. While my proponent argues that the UN has been efficient in implementing humanitarian rights around the world, its inability to act decisive has been evident in the ongoing crises, such as the Russia-Ukraine war and the Israel-Gaza conflict. The Russia-Ukraine war, which has left millions of people in need of humanitarian aid, sees the UN inefficient because of Russia's repeated misuse of its veto power. Similarly, the Israel-Gaza conflict, which has claimed tens of thousands of lives, sees the UN unhindered because of political bias, with the US numerously blocking its ceasefire resolutions. So these conflicts expose the organization's nature about how it is inevident or incapable to express these emotions and express these conflicts. Second is the reluctance to grant India a permanent membership in the UN Security Council, despite India meeting all its necessary criteria. As the world's most populous country and a major global economy, India has significantly contributed to the nation's or UN's peacekeeping force and upholds democratic values. Yet, its bid for a permanent membership has been blocked due to political rivalries, especially from China, and also the reluctance of the permanent members to share power. So this exclusion shows the organization's reluctance to adapt to the global political dynamics, which makes it lack credibility, but also it also makes it an impartial force of peacekeeping as an incredible force. The next is the engagement of the regional organizations such as the WHO, the NATO, the ASEAN, and also the African Union in providing a faster, more region-specific solutions to problems, which is in contrast to UN's more slow decision-making and bureaucratic complexities. Next, I would also like to discuss the financial and bureaucratic challenges faced by UN. The financial challenges include the shortages of funding, mainly due to the delayed or insufficient funds which are provided by the security or the permanent members, however, which will lead to the United Nations not being able to swiftly react or respond to the humanitarian emergencies. I would also like to address the bureaucratic challenges that is very complex, that will make the decision making very slow, and also critical intervention when it is needed is not being provided. In conclusion, while the United Nations have been a major part in the humanitarian aid and also in providing peace, its structural inefficiencies as well as its political biases and the lack of enforcement power makes it an institution of discussion rather than a decisive one. Thank you.
Thank you, Tenny. You will be seated on the hot chair. Now, can we have 10B to deliver your points against the motion?
As global tensions continue to escalate, it is only understandable that the UN's effectiveness is being scrutinized more than ever. Today, I stand here before you to go against the notion. As described by Tim Dunn, the United Nations is a multi-purpose agency directed to specific goals such as collective peace, security, health, environment, human rights, etc. The concerns for the UN are many. And there are two classical viewpoints which divide opinion on UN's effectiveness in world politics, the liberal and the realist point of view. Now, the realists believe that international institutions like the UN cannot manage the ongoing power conflict between countries as they cannot alter the chaotic nature of world politics, while the liberalists, strongly influenced by Immanuel Kant, believe that international institutions can contribute to the formation of peace. Now, under Chapter 7 of the UN Charter, the Security Council is entrusted with the primary responsibility of maintaining international peace and security. It is upon them to call the members of a dispute and to recommend terms of settlement by peaceful means. Now, one of the most effective ways to diminish the massive economic cost of a political strife is by preventing them in the first place. The UN Transition Assistance Group, UNTAG, the UN Observer Group in Central America, ONUCA, and the UN Iraq-Iran Military Observer Group, UNIIMOG, are some of UN's peacekeeping operations which range from 1948 to 2012, many of which are still active. Likewise, the World Health Organization, WHO, is one of the branches of the UN which help to promote health and development in extreme poverty and conflict-stricken areas. Now, these branches help to reinforce Kant's theory that international institutions are effective in preventing health and preventing conflict. Similarly, the UN has also played a vital role in implementing humanitarian rights, as well as raising awareness and legislating environmental practices in most of its member states. The Kyoto Protocol was one of the major steps towards the UN framework on climate change. The Human Rights Council also promotes issues such as homosexuality, torture rights, children, and women's rights. Now, as a result of this successful collaboration, we have witnessed a massive liberalization in already developed countries like UK, US, France, etc., who embrace liberal approaches to the humanitarian issues discussed in the UN. Considering the recent developments in world politics, the UN has managed to extend assistance to almost 20% or 1/3 of the total population in Ukraine. Despite being sidelined from being a major political influence, the UN has played a vital role in providing assistance to the people in Sudan. And in Afghanistan, many people rely heavily on the humanitarian aid efforts, again provided by the UN. Now, to sum it up, I truly believe that the UN does play a vital role in international relations, offering essential resources and structures to address conflicts. Its continuous adaptation to the evolving global environment creates a strong sense of dedication to creating a more fairer or more peaceful world. As we encounter more intricate challenges in this era, and it's promoting cooperative global governance, I think the UN would be more significant than ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Team 10. You may now join the audience. Judges, please note, 10A took 3 minutes and 48 seconds. 10B has taken 3 minutes and 40 seconds.
That, ladies and gentlemen, was the last speaker for Maria Philip Future Leaders Debate Kerala Final 2024-25. It indeed was a tough competition, and we are sure that the judges will find it no easy feat to determine the winners. As the judges tabulate the results, we will take a short break of 5 minutes. We request you all to join us after the break, refreshed, for the results. Ladies and gentlemen, the tea is being served outside the auditorium.
We request the audience to assemble back. Once again, we request you to ensure that your mobile phones are on silent mode when you walk in and around. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to resume the function, and we thank you for your patience. We request all the contestants to take the seats in the auditorium.
We invite our chairman, Professor C.P. Ravindranathan, IFS retired, Professor Alok Krishna, officiating director, and all the judges to the dais. It is now time to resume the function. For this, I would like to welcome Professor Alok Krishna, officiating director, XIME Kochi, to kindly address the gathering.
Distinguished chief guest, judges, participants, faculty and staff, and my dear students. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the Kerala state level rounds of the Maria Philip Future Leaders Debate Competition 2024. This competition has been a hallmark of excellence in debating over the last 2 decades, and we have some of the best students competing for this award. Our event today is more than just a competition. It is a platform where ideas clash, perspectives are challenged, and future leaders are born. As we move forward to the award function of this exciting event, it is my honor to introduce our distinguished chief guest of the day, Professor C.P. Ravindranathan, IFS retired, who is currently serving as the chairman of XIME Kochi. Professor Ravindranathan has had a remarkable success or career in the Indian Foreign Service and has contributed significantly to various diplomatic missions. He served as the High Commissioner to Australia before retirement from the services. His insights into leadership and governance will undoubtedly inspire our participants today. Welcome you, sir. We are also privileged to have with us 3 distinguished judges who bring in a lot of wealth and expertise, and experience to this program. They have already been introduced in detail. Let me welcome you all. Just to tell the names, Ms. Sangeeta A. Nair, Director of People Operations at TILDUX, Ms. Jasmine Jose, Group Leader of Human Resources at Man Canco, Ms. Nirupam Mary Jacob, Lead Campus and University Relations at VGuard, and also a XIME alumna. So hearty welcome to all of them. This debate started off with almost 100 participants from 9 zones of Kerala. We divided the Kerala into 9 zones, and we had almost 100 registrations with almost 70 participants vying for these awards. So we had the 9 people who are sitting, the 9 teams who are sitting over here are all winners from the respective zones. So a big congratulations to all of you to have come here all the way after winning there, and also for participating here today, and a warm welcome to all of you. So today we celebrate the power of dialogue, critical thinking, and art of persuasive communication. With this, I welcome all of you to this grand program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words.
We all are gathered here today because of the influence of one girl, Maria Philip. She was a visionary who believed in creating an egalitarian society and in creating a platform for the leaders to voice out their opinions. She was the reason behind the whole idea of laying the foundation of XIME family. And to speak more about the dream that Maria envisioned, we would like to call upon Ms. Sanjana Menon, Batch 11 student, to kindly give such an introduction.
Maria Philip was born on 9th April 1964 in Kerala. She pursued her schooling at the Convent of Jesus and Mary, New Delhi, and completed her BA Honours in Psychology from Jesus and Mary, New Delhi. While Maria was a sincere student throughout her schooling, she was also an excellent orator, organizer, and active participant in extracurricular activities. She was a born leader, and in recognition of her diligence, she was made the head girl at Loreto School, Ranchi, games captain at Convent of Jesus and Mary School, and secretary of the debating club at Jesus and Mary College. The crowning glory for Maria was when she was elected as the most popular girl at the All India Cultural Festival Montage at Jesus and Mary College in 1984. Having always been passionate about human resource management, she decided to pursue a master's program in personal management at the Madras School of Social Work. Unfortunately, during her final year, she was called to the Almighty's Award on September 30th, 1986, leaving her dreams of contributing to the development of the society unfulfilled. This unfulfilled dream of Maria was the inspiration for her father in the founding of XIME.
Thank you, Ms. Sanjana. I believe that the future Maria envisioned truly lives on in these very walls. As we sail ahead, it is now time to hear from our distinguished leader and a guiding force behind XIME Kochi, Professor C.P. Ravindranathan, IFS retired. As the esteemed chairman of XIME Kochi, he brings a wealth of experience, vision, and dedication to the institution, shaping its journey of excellence in management education. Over to you, sir.
Officiating Director, Professor Alok Krishna, esteemed judges of today's Maria Philip debate, Ms. Sangeeta Nair, Ms. Jismi Jose, and Ms. Nirupa Mary Jacob, my dear colleagues of the faculty, participants, and dear students. Now in its 10th or 11th year, the Maria Philip debate competition has assumed a great measure of importance, not only in relation to XIME's own range of activities as a management education institution, but I venture to say in terms of Kerala's own intercollegiate or ecumenical events in the educational field. There are not very many debating competitions, especially in English language in the state. Perhaps Maria Philip competition is about the only one which is standing out in prominence and which does generate increasingly a great deal of enthusiasm among participating institutions and individual competitors. We are very gratified by this progress. Maria Philip debating competition as an event has been making over the last few years. Kerala generally is known for its partiality for orators who range from our legislative assembly to street corners, churches, temples, what have you. We are a verbalized, eloquent, and very passionate in our admiration for rhetoric. There is hardly anything you can see on our television which is not a good example of rhetoric as conventionally defined. As you know, rhetoric is an ancient art which lays emphasis as its central core on the ability to have expressive and persuasive communication using figures of speech, using effects created by words, the speaker's own manner, logic, and so on and so forth. In fact, if you go by the canons of rhetoric, you are supposed to appeal to the, not only should the speaker be such as to generate some kind of respect or esteem by the audience, or he should not only enjoy some credibility with the audience for his words to weigh with them, but he should also be able to appeal forcefully to the intellect, reasoning, and emotions, the last one being named as pathos. So any work in writing or more in speech, in rhetoric, should conform to all these canons according to the prescriptions for this very ancient art. So, growing up in Kerala, I've seen some of the great examples of rhetoric in my time, mostly in Malayalam, but a fair amount in English as well, because Malayalis have excelled in both these areas. In my university days, we had, of course, the stump orators like Mathai Manyuran and Manakalat and people like that. You had the great Kathakalakshepam orators, another genre, and then we have had, of course, politicians. Even somebody like EMS Namboodiripad, in spite of some defect he had in speaking, was a very persuasive, very intellectual, and a highly seductive orator, not to speak of so many others. And at the United Nations, one of the Malayalis, Krishna Menon, has had the effect of making perhaps the longest speech. But that longest speech, mercifully, was not a boring speech. It was a speech full of passionate rhetoric, humor, irony, and no one in the United Nations would ever mess with him. The British delegate did once, and he ended up with more than a fly in his ear. So you had that kind of oratory also in Kerala. So it is against this background this annual event has been taking place. And I have been attending these, whether in Kochi, whether in Bangalore, where I am located, or in Kochi, which I visit once every month. Now, all the state-level competitions I've been attending during the past years of my chairmanship, and I've been impressed by each and every event. Every event is a demonstration of how well our younger generation is getting versed in the art of rhetoric and how they are turning out to be great speakers. Today's group of speakers, for example, they displayed effectively the various facets of oratory. Some were very impassioned. Some were noted for the very good authority or command, as we call in India, command of the language, the use of diction, some in the most dignified way, some in the most expressive way, some in the most, electric way, in the sense of connecting with the audience and, emitting sparks of rhetorical virtuosity, and some being very reasoned, urbane, dignified. So all the various shades of the spectrum of rhetoric, the participants were able to display in and by themselves. So I congratulate all the participants on the very commendable mastery of the art of public speaking that they seem to have. I do hope you will develop these. And the judges who are just recovering from the pressure of choosing who is the best speaker will soon be announcing to all of you, already sitting, under bated breath to see who are going to be the winner. They'll be announcing that. So I would like to share with you all this sense of joy that I had in listening to the speeches which were delivered here today. And thank you very much for the esteemed judges for taking your time off, including one of our alumni, for being here and participating in the evaluation of today's speeches. And I will now step aside and wait for the announcement of results. And thank you very much.
Tom Petty. Waiting is the hardest part. Dear audience, we have kept you waiting all this time only to reveal that patience in your garden yields the most ripened fruit. Without further delay, we would like to welcome Ms. Jismi Jose to give her brief observation on the performance of the debaters. Over to you, ma'am.
Dignitaries on the dais, faculty members, and my dear students, a very good afternoon to one and all. It has been a privilege to evaluate no longer an effective body in addressing global conflicts and political tensions. The enthusiasm and passion displayed by the participants were truly commendable, so a big round of applause for all the participants today and also the organizing committee for a very streamlined way of today's conduct. So we had certain criteria for judging the same. So to begin with, the presentation skills of the speakers were impressive. Many students demonstrated confidence and poise. They maintained strong eye contact and delivered their arguments with clarity and conviction. Some also used gestures and body language effectively to emphasize their points. However, a few participants could have benefited for a more structured delivery to engage their audience further. Because sometimes what happens is when you have a lot of passion, the structure of the speech goes haywire. So that is something which a lot of participants could have benefited from. In terms of the depth of ideas, the level of research and critical thinking were evident. Arguments covered a wide range of perspectives from the role of the UN in peacekeeping missions and climate change initiatives to its struggles with bureaucracy and power imbalances. So really good research from a lot of participants. While some students presented highly detailed and well-supported arguments, a few could have expanded the viewpoints to provide more concrete examples. So it's very easy to say general statements. It is very easy to have your personal topics on the various things, but when you are validating it with certain points, with certain references, that really adds on to the various points which is there. Time management was another key aspect where many participants excelled. Most adhered to the allocated time while managing to deliver well-rounded arguments. A handful of participants, however, either rushed through their points or exceeded their time limit, which impacted the overall impact. Lasting, the debating skills. The debating skills which are showcased today were totally remarkable. Several students displayed excellent rebuttal techniques, confidently challenging the opposing arguments while maintaining respect and decorum. That is also something which we judges look out for. The ability to think on one's feet was also particularly noticeable in some participants. However, a few individuals could have focused more on counter-arguments rather than reiterating their initial points, because that is also something which is a strong focal point during the arguments. So overall, the competition was a testament to the hard work and talent of a lot of participants today. So thank you to all of us for making us part of this journey. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for those insightful comments. I'm sure the participants would have made a note of these. I request you, ma'am, to also announce the runner-up winner. May I request Professor Alok Krishna, Officiating Director of XIME Kochi, to distribute the prizes.
Good afternoon, all. Now the toughest task is on me. Okay. Shall we start with the runner-up? Okay. Okay, the runner-up is Team 7, Rajagiri School of Engineering and Technology, Kochi, and the participants are Jainaj Eldo and Krishnanand, right? Yeah, Prajit Menon. Okay, so congratulations to you both. And now it's the most awaited winner of the day.
I request Professor Alok Krishna to please hand over.
Okay, they are having some other arrangement of a countdown. You have that. Okay, fine.
Runner-ups can come onto the stage.
Thank you, dignitaries, for your warm gesture, and congratulations to the runner-ups.
Next, dear audience, is the winner of Maria Philip Future Leaders Debate 2024-25 Kerala State Finals. Before they are officially announced, do we have any guesses? Is it Team 3? Is it Team 6, 8 or 9? Any guesses? I would like to request Professor C.P. Ravindranathan, IFS retired, to kindly announce the winner.
Yes, I will stand by your side.
Okay, so I'm doing the announcement on sir's behalf. Okay. So the winner is Team 8, St. Thomas College, Thrissur. They have done an amazing job, and hearty congratulations to them. So the team members are Sri Hari and Sri Ranjini S. Babu. Congratulations to all the winners once again. And you all are amazing, and you have done an amazing job, wonderful job, all the participants.
I request all the judges also to hand over the prize, the trophy. Heartiest congratulations to the winning team. It's a deserving victory. And we thank you, sir, for doing the honors. At this time, we're going to announce the prizes for the zonal winners. For this, we request all the three judges to distribute the prizes. For the zonal winners, for Zone Trivandrum, we have Teresa Maria and Vaishnavi. Vaishnavi. I request the judges to come forward and distribute the prizes. For Trivandrum Zone, we have Teresa Maria and Vaishnavi V. For the Kollam Zone, we have Artana S. Saji and Bismi Faisal. For the Changnashiri Zone, we have Devi Priya B and Rahul Jacob Alex. For the Kottayam Zone, we have Atulya S. Menon and Gauri Krishna KU. And for the Idiki Zone, we have Maria Abraham and Devika Santosh. For the Kochi Zone, we have Krishnanand, Prajit Menon and Janet Eldo. And for the Thrissur and Palakkad Zone, we have Sri Ranjani S. Babu and Sri Hari MV. For the Calicut and Malappuram Zone, we have Ramisha C. and Amika Shirins. For the Kanu Zone, we have Maria Shaji and Edwin Tommy Kurula. For the Kochi zone, we have Krishnanand Prajit Menon and Janet Eldo. I request all the participants to join for the photograph. I request all the dignitaries to be seated on the dais for the group. I request all the participants to stand behind the judges so that we can take a group photo. Thank you all. I request the runner-up and the winner to stay back for the photo. Yeah. The runner-up and the winner, please stay back for the photo. I request Professor C.P. Ravindranathan to kindly share his views.
Before we conclude today, I would like to let the audience know that we were expecting the founder of XIME, Prof.J.Philip, to be present here today and to deliver a message to the participants and the audience. Unfortunately, he's held up at Etumanu at our school, Xavier International School, and thereby unable to join us. Professor J. Philip has been, over the years, the source of patronage and support to this annual event of XIME, and this event will always be something which he holds very dear to his heart. We would like to remember that fact with pleasure on this occasion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much to all the dignitaries for doing the honors. We heartily congratulate all the participants of the debate. Today, you were not just debating. You were taking home the spirit of ideas, passion, and the courage to stand by your convictions.
Sorry for my oversight. Before I step aside, let me express on behalf of the organization my sincere thanks to Bridget for the organization of the event, and for Elizabeth and her brilliant student assistants for having so ably and skillfully staged today's competition. Thank you. And indeed to the director, Alok Krishna, and his colleagues on the faculty.
Adding to this, may I request Professor C.P. Ravindranathan, IFS retired chairman, XIME Kochi, to distribute the memento to Ms. Sangeeta A. Nair and to Ms. Jasmeet Jose. Thank you so much, sir. Now I request Professor Alok Krishna, officiating director, XIME Kochi, to come forward and hand over the memento to Ms. Nirupa Mary Jacob. Thank you so much, sir.
We are now almost at the end of our event. We would like to invite Dr. Bridget George Abraham, Senior Assistant Professor and Coordinator of Maria Philip Future Leaders Debate Kerala State Finals, who worked hard to see this year's debate prosper, to kindly deliver the vote of thanks.
respected dignitaries on the dais, most respected Professor C.P. Ravindranathan, IFS Chairman, XIME Kochi, Professor Alok Krishna, Officiating Director, XIME Kochi, panel of judges, Ms. Sangeeta A. Nair, Ms. Jismi Jose, Ms. Nirupa Mary Jacob, my dear professors, deans, faculty colleagues, staff, dear participants, parents and teachers from the respective zones. I'm doing the happiest part and also the difficult part. Happiest part is that today is another milestone for XIME Kochi to conduct Maria Philip Future Leaders Debate Competition 24-25. And hardest part is something like to organize such an event, there are minds, brains. So normally we say that great minds come with a great responsibility and finally we achieve those responsibility. So on record we have, as Professor Alok already mentioned, we have received more than 100 registrations, and out of which we are also fortunate and happy with the 75 teams from 9 zones. And we also know the difficulty in getting students because November and December is supposed to be university exams. And beyond this, we have 75 teams. That's a great achievement. As a coordinator, I'm getting into my duty. My duty is to appreciate and thank all the dignitaries, participants, faculty members, staff, parents from the respective zones. First of all, let me thank our principal founder. He was supposed to join the meeting, but he couldn't reach on time, so he will be reaching afternoon. So his sincere thanks to Professor J.Philip, XIME Management, President, Professor Anil Philip for their guidance and support for all the programs and interviews. Second, I would like to thank Professor C.P. Ravindranathan, IFS retired, Chairman and XIME Kochi. For every program, he is actually our backbone. Thank you, sir. Thank you for guiding us and providing all the support to conduct such events. I would also like to mention a special thanks to our officiating director, Professor Alok. Any program, any problem, we have a solution from our Alok sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for guiding us and thank you for supporting throughout the time. And on behalf of XIME Kochi, I would also like to offer and provide our sincere gratitude and thanks to our panel of judges, Ms. Sangeeta A. Nair, Director of People Operations, REDEX. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for accepting our invitation as a judge. Thanks are also due to Jismi Jose, Group Leader, Human Resources, Mankind Core. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for coming over here. And thank you for providing the feedback on behalf of the judges. Next, Nirupa Mary Jacob, Lead, Campus and University Relations, VGARD. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for accepting our invitations. And I'll be failing in my duty if I don't appreciate the hard work of XIME Kochi team. As CPR sir already mentioned about the MC, even in the last day also they were so happy and so thank you, Elizabeth ma'am. She already mentioned, if you don't tell my name, this is going to be a trouble. I know I also convey that I'll be telling the same in the welcome address also. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for helping out with the MC. And thanks are also due to our deans, professors, faculty colleagues, staff, student, faculty coordinators of respective zones, and student coordinators of respective zones. A special thanks to our student. Even though we were calculating, our students were very helpful for finalizing the calculation. And I must also say that we were having a tough time deciding who first, who second. And we were allotted only 10 minutes for the tabulation, but it took around 20 minutes if I'm not wrong. So I must also appreciate the effort from the students also. Those were the participants. Thank you very much for. And a special thanks to our Assistant Dean Administrations and the team of administration. If I list out the name, this is going to be a lengthy process, so I'm going to list out the name. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart, our entire team. Thank you so much for organizing such an event. Appreciations to all those colleges who supported us with the students, all the faculty members of their respective zones for providing such students. And a special, as I said, special thanks to the partner in crime. I was thinking that not to mention the word partner in crime, my co-coordinator, Dr. Don Jose. So, and if I forgot to, so as I said, it is the hardest part. This is why, because if I fail to forget anyone's name, I'm really sorry for that. But from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all the supports, and especially on behalf of XIME Kochi, I take the privilege thanking all the participants, all the faculty members for the success of the Kerala state level Maria Philip debate competition. Once again, thanking you. Stay safe, stay blessed.
Thank you so much, Bidit sir, for your kind words.
The gathering, there is one thing that brings us all together, the respect and the belongingness we have for this diversified yet unified country. To delight this feeling, may I request all of you to kindly rise for the national anthem.
Janagana mana adhinayak jaya he Bharat bhagya vidhata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkala Vanga Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga Uchala Jaladhi Taranga तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you all for being a wonderful audience. Congratulations once again to all the participants and winners. We hope to see this continued enthusiasm from your side for all the upcoming years. Thank you.
Please join us for the food that is arranged in the MDP room for the guests and in the canteen for all the attendees. Thank you.